Hello, friends. So this is like a sort of like a video that concludes the introduction phase, where I introduced what the game of chess is. There are two sides, white and black. Uh, we looked at the chessboard. We looked at the different pieces. We looked at how the different pieces move, what the objective of the game is. Ideally, you want to the objective of the game is for either side to checkmate the opponent king, capture the opponent king, but mostly to checkmate the opposite king. And to to bring that introduction phase to a conclusion, I wanted to take a look at the old game that was played in the 17th century, uh, precisely in the year 1620. So chess is an old game, and this particular game I've fetched it from my database, and it was played a very long time ago. But I just wanted to give you guys a demonstration on how a game is played between the two sides, between white and black. And yeah, so let's take a look at this game, and I will continue making new videos about new content, but specifically this part where I introduce the game of chess to curious-minded people. I think that phase concludes with this video. But watch out for new content, and chess is a very, very rich game. There are a lot of tactics, strategies that players study years and years. Like professional players, they study the game in a very detailed fashion. And I think that's where the joy of playing chess comes. So yeah, I mean, if you like the introduction, and if you like the game, hopefully you develop more curiosity to learn more tips and tricks about the game. So having said that, let's take a look at this classical game. Okay. So yeah, so we are back to our classical setup. I think by now you are well versed and well aware with the chessboard. We know the columns, uh, which are designated by the alphabet A B C D E F G H. We have the rows 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and there are 64 squares on the board. The squares are either black squares or they're white squares, and we have the king on both the sides, and then we have the queen on both the sides, bishops, knights, rooks, and you know how they move, you know how the pawns move. So let's take a look at one of the classical games played in the year 1620. So this is a software that I use to study chess games, and I've fetched this game from my database. So white is a player called as Greco Giacchino, and black is an unknown player. So NN means unknown. This is a very old game, so sometimes historical records get lost. But Greco Giacchino, he was actually a priest, an Italian priest, and chess was, like, historically it was played by the intellectuals, right? So by the aristocrats, um, or people who can read and write, and so it was a game that they played for amusement and to pass their times. So yeah, a bit of history with this game. So like, the game might not be of a very high quality, but it still is I found it very amusing and amusing to look at after all these years. So let's take a look at the game. So white plays e4, e5. Now you know these pawns are blocked; they cannot move forward. White develops his knight. So like when you're playing the game of chess, it's a strategical battle, right? So think of it as like a war between two sides. So there is white side and there's black side, and they're trying to fight each other. And if you consider it like a battle or like a war, um, the side which controls certain important strategical positions, like or certain strategical positions in the battle, that side has the advantage. So imagine there is a battle between two sides, between not white and black, but let's say there is an army A and army B, and the battle is going on in the mountains. And let's imagine that army A is on the mountains and army B is in the valley. So which side has advantage? So common sense dictates that the side which is on the mountain, they have the advantage because they can pour heavy gunfire or artillery to the army which is in the valley. Like gravity helps them. They also have the advantage of sight. And so Army A is at an advantage, and Army A has better prospects to win the battle than Army B. Army B has to work against gravity. They don't have enough sight on where the enemy troops are. So that's why the army which is in the valley, that has disadvantage. So why am I telling you this? So roughly, when we try to translate the concept of mountain and valley onto the chessboard, these four squares are like the mountain of the chessboard. Like these four squares, uh, they are the center of the chessboard, and oftentimes we just call them center. And so the center of the chessboard is like the mountain in this battle, and the edges, right? So the edges are like the valley. And so what we have found is that the side which gets to place most of their pieces in the center, or the side which controls the center, that side gets the advantage, right? So eventually, chess is a strategical battle. Now, true, the objective of the game is to capture the enemy king, but that's not just going to happen out of the blue. I mean, like, to get to that level where you capture the enemy king, you have to go strategically step by step. And so the first step in this battle is to get control of the center, right? So these four squares. And that's why these opening moves, like which move to play on the first move when the game starts. So those moves are dictated by this logic, like where both sides are trying to fight. They're trying to fight for the control of center. So strategically, the fight in the start of the game, that revolves around control of the center. So that's why both sides have placed their pawns on e4 and e5 in the central squares. And yeah, I mean, and also in the battle, uh, when you're trying to fight, you want to bring as much army or artillery into the fight. So that means development of your pieces, right? So most of white's pieces are underdeveloped. They are on their original squares. Black's pieces are on the original squares. So you want to develop them and try to control the center, right? So that's what the initial moves are doing. Either the pawns or the pieces. That's what the logic is. The, the pawns are getting occupied in the center, and the pieces are attacking the center, right? So white, by playing knight to f3, he's attacking black's pawn on e5. Right? So this is the knight move, right? This is how the knight will move. So he's attacking the e5 pawn, and black defends the e5 pawn with his knight to c6. And bishop c4, like it's just normal development. You want to bring out your pieces and start attacking, or at least position your pieces in strategical locations so that you can start attacking. So bishop c4, bishop c5 development. White plays c3. As I said, the battle is in the center. So by playing c3, white is planning to play this pawn to d4 and establish a presence in the center. Black plays queen e7. So this is a very sneaky move. The idea being that if white plays d4 and tries to establish a presence in center, black takes white's pawn, white takes black's pawn, and now this queen's range has been opened by exchanging these pawns, and he can take white's pawns, right? So black will have an extra pawn here. So that's what black is doing. Like he's sneakily putting his queen behind black's pawn so that after white plays d4, he can take and then grab white's e4 pawn. And white plays here castle. So castling is denoted by 0-0. So this is a special move that we haven't seen before, but for now, just go with my explanation that castling is a move which is possible. I will go into detail about the special moves in another video, but for now, just trust me that castling is a move which is a special move, which is possible. And the way to castle, castle means that you're building a castle for your king, right? So black is trying to go after white's king, white is trying to go after black's king. And so this castling is a concept where you are tucking away your king in the corner so that it does not get attacked. It does not get attacked easily. So castling is a special move. So just for now, just go with this explanation. So castle, black plays d6, and white plays d4. Black plays bishop b6. I think you guys might have a question as to, isn't it possible for black to take white's pawn? And if if white takes black's pawn, then I will take your pawn on e4. Isn't that possible? Well, it's certainly theoretically possible, but for black, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that now because white's king is not on e1 anymore. Okay, so there is no check after capturing the pawn on e4, and more importantly, now white can play a move like rook e1, and he can attack black's queen. And this is a tactical concept which we call as a pin. Pin meaning that like a piece is shielding another, a lesser piece is shielding a more important piece. So here, the king is always the most valuable piece on the board, right? And the black queen is shielding the black king, but it cannot go away, right? So if black moves his queen, then the white queen, the white rook is giving a check to the black king. So for that reason, the queen cannot move, and if it doesn't move, then white will capture black's queen. And obviously, this will be a bad trade for black because he's giving a more valuable piece like the queen for a less valuable piece like the rook. So yeah, so that's why taking the pawn on e4 isn't advisable. Black just, and then white is attacking black's bishop. The black moves his bishop back. White now attacks black's queen with his bishop. There's f6, so black stops that, and in return he's now attacking white's bishop. White plays bishop h4, and black starts attacking white's bishop. Right. So for the most part, this game I'm demonstrating it to show you, like how the pawns, the pieces, the bishops and knights, and the queen, rook, they move in a chess game. So uh, for anyone who is trying to learn chess, you can learn quickly by looking at a couple of games. So that's the motivation behind showing you these games. So black is attacking white's bishop. Now white goes after, like he tries to create attack against the black king. The first takes the pawn, black takes the knight, and now by removing the knight, white has opened up this line for his queen, right? So previously the knight was obstructing white's queen to go to h5 because of the knight. So couldn't do that, right? So the knight was obstructing that range. So he removed the knight and started attacking the black king. So by going to h5, he's threatening a check, gives a check to the black king. Black moves his king from the check. Now white takes the pawn and attacks the black king, black queen. The black queen also moves from the attack of the bishop. White gives another check. So black king moves. And now white takes black's knight. Black takes the bishop. And white plays queen f6, check. And the black king cannot go anywhere, so wherever the black king goes, it will be under check. So let's say if it goes to h8, still under the check from the queen. It goes to g6, it's still under check from the queen. On h6, it's also under check. On f7, it's also under check. On f8, it's also under check. And it cannot go to g8 or h7 because g8 and h7 are black's own pieces. And so after giving this check, white has checkmated the black king, and so white has won this game. So a very short miniature just to demonstrate how the different pieces move in a chess game and how the flow of a game gets built. So I hope you have learned and enjoyed these videos about introduction to chess. In the succeeding videos, I will dive a bit deeper on what, like on the right structure to study chess, like on the right kind of materials you can study to improve your game. But as I said, this series is mostly aimed at people who want to learn the game of chess, and I feel that in that regard, these last 6 or 7 videos are exhausting in that regard. If you want to learn more about the different strategies, tactics that that players use, keep on looking at more content and videos I'll be posting in this channel. But for now, thank you for being such a great audience, and happy learning.